Hello, cats and kittens, felines and felidaes, humans and variant humans, and every race, class, and subclass. Welcome to another episode of Brainy the RPG Cat. Devin says, "Yeehaw!" And yeehaw indeed, because tonight we are going to do part 6 of our read through of Tabletop Lore. Red the Rabbit says, "Hiya, Brainy. Hiya, Red the Rabbit. Thank you very much for tuning in tonight." So, we're going to read some of Tabletop Lore, but first I do have a very important announcement for the channel, for the social media, for everything. And so, yeah, we're just going to start off on that. So, I am now going to be open casting for cast members for One Shots of the Meowing Portal. In order to qualify, you have to be over 18. You have to be experienced with Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. It would be a plus if you are an English VTuber, if you have experience with streaming platforms, if you have a streaming channel on Twitch or YouTube to promote. And if you want to make your application, please send an email to brainytherpgcat@gmail.com. Also, I am going to be casting for VTuber guest stars to play one-shots, single episodes in one-shots from the Meowing Portal. You have to be over 18 and experienced with D&D 5th edition. And it would be a plus if your character represents a fantasy species. And for applications with that, you can email them to brainytherpgcat@gmail.com. So, anybody in the chat or who might be interested in that, you're going to get in on this first. But pretty soon I'm going to be posting these on social media. Anybody who is possibly interested in joining us for our bi-weekly actual play RPG adventures, please consider sending us an email. So we want to see if we can round out the cast by probably with about 5 or 6 people. And then we'll have a complete cast, and then we'll be able to finish out season 1 of the stream. But anyways, thank you everybody for tuning in. We're going to get right to the reading, but first things first. This stream is brought to you by GreatMedia.Games. For inexpensive TCG single cards, visit GreatMedia.Games and use the code 10Finity at checkout for 10% off your online purchase. This stream is also brought to you by our holiday donation campaign supporting Extra Life and Children's Hospital Colorado. If you are interested in giving a donation, please follow our donation link. We're doing this donation alongside GreatMedia.Games, so we're hoping that we're going to raise a significant amount of money. My link will be up until December the 31st. Alrighty. Thank you everybody for staying tuned through the announcements. Let's go ahead and let's get back to reading Eberron, Writing from the Last War. Okay, so... See, here I thought this window actually came up. Let's see. There we are. Okay, folks, so this is how this is going to go down. I am hoping that, if I'm efficient enough, that this might be the very last time that we stream this. But just in cases, I have looked through the chapter in advance and I saw that there is one straightforward adventure for Eberron that I am not going to read. Instead, I'm going to read the remainder of the Setting Up an Adventure chapter and the remainder of the Sharn, City of Towers section, and then I believe then that's going to be the remainder of the book. There's still a couple more sections we could read. One about finding specific types of treasure, the other one about specific monster types that might exist. O.S. Devon says, "I'm going to miss you, Eberron book." And I do appreciate you for being the person, who most tuned in for the Eberron streams. But, I hope that if nothing else that I've encouraged people to look into this book, to see that there's a much broader dimension to the world of Eberron, and you'll be capable of doing more in it besides importing Warforged. Queen Vampiress says, hello, Brainy. Hello, Queen Vampiress. Thank you very much for tuning in. Alright, so we left off at this section of the chapter. We were talking about the sports and games that are played in Sharn, the City of Towers. And I'm going to start out by reading the article by the Sharn Inquisitive. The race of the 8 winds begins. Banners are flying across Dura today, and the streets are in full color. Walk through Old Keep wearing brown and red. You'll be invited to raise a glass to the Griffin if you're dressed in white and gold, the colors of the Hippogriff. You best be prepared to defend yourself. If you're new to Sharn, you might think of our cities has gone mad, and in some ways it has, but it's a madness that reaches its peak every summer with the race of the 8 winds. Long ago, King Galifar used Dura as a proving ground for aerial cavalry. What's more important, quickness or strength, our modern race is a test of speed and skill through a course that weaves around and through the spires of Dura. There are 8 competitors, and each of these brave jockeys rides a different flying creature, except for the gargoyle Karalag, who relies on his own wings. Speed is important, but merely surviving the race can be a challenge. The spilling of blood isn't prohibited, but the only weapon a rider can carry is a light sporting crossbow. The steeds can use their talons and beaks, which is what makes the griffin such a fierce contender. Poison, magic, or anything else that could directly interfere with the beast or rider is strictly forbidden, though over the years we have seen imaginative attempts to stretch the rules. Dura is divided into 8 regions for the race, each of which is represented by a different culture. If you're going to spend time in Dura, it's best that you know your mounts. The beasts of Upper Dura are the fastest in the race and overall have the best record. The reigning champ is the Pegasus of Highwater, whose supporters wear white and silver. The Hippogriff is tied to Overlook and Daggerwatch in Upper Dura, and its colors are white and gold. Detractors often say that the Sharn Watch favors the Hippogriff and that the House Vidalis helps the Pegasus, but the referees always insist that the race is fair. The beasts of Middle Dura are versatile. The eagle represents Broken Arch and Stormhold in Middle Dura, and its supporters wear brown and gold. The clever owl flies for Redlestone and the Bazaar, and its colors are brown and gray. The hawk represents Tumbledown and Underlook in Middle Dura, and wearing its blend of tan and brown can usually get you a good price at an inn. The beasts of Lower Dura are more infamous than reliable. The griffin flies for Precarious and Old Keep, and its colors are brown and red. It has never won the race, but there is gold to make betting on which opponent it will bring down. The Glidewing represents the Gate of Gold in the Stones, and its supporters wear green and gray. Many believe that the Bormar clan pays for the upkeep of the mount and its rider. Malian's Gate is used to be represented by the bat, but 12 years ago they exchanged that mascot for the Gargoyle, whose colors are black and gray. The current Gargoyle is a stone-faced fellow named Karalag, and his supporters are quite passionate about their winged champion. As befits a metropolis that boasts people of all cultures, Sharn hosts a wide variety of sports and athletic events. The Race of 8 Winds occurs once a year. Other events take place on a daily, weekly, or monthly schedule. For instance, shifters hold informal Harzak competitions every night in Lower North Edge. The ogres of the cogs are fond of tugs of war, arm wrestling, and similarly simple tests of strength. People who don't want to bet on sports can usually find a gambler willing to set odds in the Firelight District in Lower Memphis, Calistan in Lower Dura, Cornerstone in Middle Tavix Landing, or Harris Folly in Middle Dura. 3 exotic sports practiced by the city are described below. Hrazak. 2 teams of 7 shifters play Hrazak on a field with a goal at each end. Each team starts out carrying a wooden idol. To score, a team must steal its opponent's idol and place both idols in its own goal. Obstacles such as trees, streams, and piles of rubble can be present on a Hrazak field, requiring the competitors to make full use of their jumping and climbing abilities. Idols can be thrown or carried, and there are no limits of contact between participants, although only natural weapons are allowed. Typically, a low-level druid or adept is on hand to provide healing if it's needed, but any competitor who receives aid is removed from play. For the remainder of the match, competitors aren't allowed to use spells or similar abilities. The only formal Hrazak arena in Sharn is located in the Stone Trees as part of the Cornerstone District. where the matches serve as both a spectator sport and a reason for gambling. Shifters created temporary Hrazek fields in the slums and warehouse districts of the city from time to time, and shifter use often portray impromptu games in the parks. Skyblades. Common jousting is popular enough through Brayland, but in Sharn the sport has taken to the air. In a formal Skyblades match, the goal is to knock an opposing rider from the saddle. Attacks against mounts are forbidden, along with the use of magic or other supernatural abilities. Formal matches take place in one of Sharn's two aerial arenas, in Cornerstone and Harris Folly. Skyblades jousters typically ride hippogriffs and carry blunted lances that deal non-lethal damage. Informal matches, which don't always have the same rules, occur from time to time in Lower and Middle Dura, Tavik's Landing, and Memphis Plateau. An informal match might be played out across an entire district, with competitors weaving between towers and bridges. The rules for an informal match are simple for the start, establishing, among other things, whether magic can be used and mounts can be targeted. 6 Stones, a Droam tradition brought to Sharn by immigrants. 6 Stones is a game for 7 competitors who each play a base stake. The 7 are then sealed into a giant chamber with a cockatrice. The match ends when 6 of the players have been turned to stone, at which point the survivor is awarded all the stakes, except for a share set aside by the organizers. A Medusa handler monitors the competition to ensure that rules are followed. Contestants can carry no arms or armor, and no magic or supernatural abilities may be used. Additionally, no one is allowed to attack the cockatrice. The challenge lies in outlasting the other contestants and luring them or pushing them into the path of the cockatrice. The background might be barren or littered with rubble and cover. It might be lit or it might be pitch black. 6 Stones matches are staged by the criminal organization Dask. The sport is illegal, but the games do go on because the matches are confined to Lower Dura and the cogs and are well hidden from the eyes of the watch. A match usually occurs once every few months. Sometimes participants voluntarily enter the competition, but most likely they are debtors who have been offered a chance to pay off their loans by winning the match. Das takes bets on the outcome and usually earns a tidy sum as a share of its proceeds. This place seems kind of fun. Oh yeah, absolutely. Sharn, a city of a million different possible ways to get yourself killed. Not the least of which is falling off of the sides of the entire vertical city's very steep walkways. The city government. Sharn has many people in positions of power: beadles, ministers, bailiffs, and all manner of minor functionaries and officials. But ultimate power rests in the hands of the city council. The body has 17 members, 1 for each ward in the city, plus representatives from Skyway, the cogs. Each ward has its own process for selecting a councillor, and there are no legal restrictions on who you can govern. If you build up a strong base of support in a ward, you can hold a position yourself. The members of the city council are quite diverse. Some are crooked, others are idealists, and one of them appears to be an owl. All of them are well known in their home wards, and any of them could have use for a team of adventurers. The Sharn Counselors table describes a few of the city leaders that you might bump into in Upper Central. If your character has the noble background, you might already know one of them. Sorik Sensos, the human, represents Middle Central, an elder statesman and a brilliant orator. He is rumored to be involved in a web of bribery and graft. Sava Carissa is the spoken counselor from Lower Central. Since taking her seat, she has fought to improve conditions from the lower classes of Sharn, and she has made many enemies from the council and belong. Thoruk Devandi represents Upper Memphis. He is known to have ties to Zelargo and the Boromore clan, and he reportedly loves intrigues and blackmail. Savia Potelis, human, has her hand in the entertainment industry. She hopes to reduce the influence of organized crime in her district, but it's a dangerous game. Maza Thadian represents Upper North Edge, a venerable elf and owner of one of the finest restaurants in Sharn. She fights to maintain tradition, but definitely puts the needs of the wealthy ahead of the poor. Tassa Shar from Lower Northridge represents the interests of the merchants and the shifters of her ward. She is a cunning diplomat and is devoted to her constituents. Bestan-ir-Tan, the halfling, was represented Upper Tavik's Landing for 30 years and largely views his ward as a separate city within the city. He has a reputation for stirring up conflict and setting the other counselors against one another. Click, the changeling, represents the merchants of Lower Tavik's Landing. Whispered rumors suggest that the changeling has ties to the mysterious tyrants. Some insist that Kilk, actually it's Kilk, not Click. Kilk is actually an identity shared by a group of changelings. Hruit, an owl, is a giant owl who can assume human form. A former aerial racer, he is a clever negotiator who fights for the good of the bazaar in the Middle Dura, often opposing the Boromar clan and its allies. Ilria Boromar, the halfling, is a counselor for Lord Dura, but it's common knowledge that her true allegiance is to her family and its criminal empire. The current ongoing conflict with Dask has weakened her family and her position. Evix Marasha, the human, represents Skyway. Lady Marasha owns the Celestial Vista restaurant along with several other valuable businesses. She's an eloquent speaker who supports many radical positions, including abolishing the monarchy after the death of King Boronel and recognizing Sharn as an independent province. Tolan Toranek, the dwarf, the counselor for the cogs, is largely seen as a tool of the industrialists who owned the foundries there. Members of his family were killed by the Warforged during the last war, and Tornak harbors a bitter grudge against House Kenneth and the Warforged. He has tried to have Warforged reclassified as human property and seeks to suppress Warforged activists in the cogs. Temples and shrines. Every minor religion has outposts in Sharn. A number of sacred signs draw pilgrims to the city from across Breland and Corvair. Priests don't usually sell their services. Temples are places for worship and for spiritual guidance. The sovereign host is the dominant religion of Breland, represented by shrines and small temples throughout the city. The pavilion of the host in Middle Central is the heart of the faith, and most priests of the host I just called pirates priests. And most priests of the host live in one of the pavilion's 9 towers. Pilgrims often come to visit one of 3 particular sites. The Coronath in Upper Central features Corvair's largest temple of Kulkaran. The Great Hall of Orion in Upper Memphis draws scholars and worshippers alike. The Pool of Onathar's Tears in the Blackbones district of the Cogs is said to impart a blessing to any smith who bathes their hands in the waters. Pirates, priests, they both make people pray. That is true, Red. The Cathedral of the Cleansing Flame, Sharn's largest temple to the Silver Flame, is located in Upper Central. Archierophant, that's a hard word, Archierophant Yithana Moore is frequently accused of corruption and nepotism. But there are several other places of worship around the city devoted to the true principles of the faith. The hermit Gaia watches over the city of the dead from Morden Tower. Cold Flame Keep in Middle North Edge was once a mighty garrison. Its glory has faded, but flame-bearer Mazintana still strives to protect its community. The priestess Phaela maintains a small shrine in the Shadows of Fallen, doing what she can do to help the wretched people of that forsaken district. Finally, the shrine of Fathin the Martyr is a sacred site in North Market, often visited by Templars passing through the city. Even some lesser-known religions are represented in Sharn. The Greystone district in Middle Tavik's Landing is a haven for followers of the Blood of Vol. The Gates of Passage in Upper North Edge is a temple of the Undying Court. The Overlooked district of Upper Dura holds a shrine of Aliena dedicated to the Path of Light. Guilds and groups. Guilds and similar associations abound in Sharn. Their headquarters are places where people can find the company of fellow professionals or perhaps enlist in the assistance of an organization. All the guilds associated with the dragon-marked houses are well represented in Sharn. Most have guild hearts in the Dragon Towers district of Middle Central. Aside from those groups, the city features a number of less populous associations, such as the ones described below. Adventurers Guild. Sharn is a magnet for those who seek adventure and opportunity. Forgotten treasures are hidden in the ruins below the towers, and expeditions leave for Zendrik every day. At any moment, dozens of sages, spies, and nobles around the city are searching for capable agents to help with their schemes and investigations. If you and your friends are searching for adventure, you've come to the right place, and you don't have to do it alone. Sharn is home to two organizations that provide adventurers with opportunities for work and camaraderie: the Clifftop Adventurers Guild and the Deskgate Guild. Membership benefits: those who are accepted to either Adventurers Guild must pay dues of 12 gold points each year. The primary benefit of belonging to a guild is access to work, since the guildmaster can connect parties of adventurers with patrons and jobs suited to their talent. Besides that, you can store items at the guild hall free of charge. You can book lodging at the guild hall for 5 silver points a night, and the Adventurers Guild is an excellent source of information. A strong rivalry exists between the Deskgate Guild and the Clifftop Adventurers Guild. You might have trouble with members of the opposing guild, whether in the form of drunken boasting or rivals stirring up trouble in the midst of a mission. The Clifftop Adventurers Guild. Located in the Clifftop district of Upper Dora, this organization has a sterling reputation as a source of reliable explorers and champion. Clifftop adventurers are known for their courage and integrity, and Guildmaster Summer Coroner holds members to a high standard of virtuous behavior. Oh, as Devin says, I love adventure guilds. Yeah, they're so neat. They're so well organized. As a Clifftop adventurer, you're expected to keep your word, to stand by your comrades, to uphold the law, and never to intentionally endanger innocence with your actions. Many of the local businesses cater to adventurers, and if you're a member of the guild, you can expect warm welcome in the caverns of Clifftop. The Deskgate Guild, adventurers who are willing to take on any job and do whatever it takes to triumph, might find themselves suited for membership in the Deskgate Guild. Noted for its proximity to the City of the Dead, the district of Deskgate prides itself on being a haven for those who challenge death on a daily basis. The guild's founder, Cash Black Axe Doranath. I said Black Axe Doranath. Doesn't care how its members do their jobs, as long as they don't fail. The Circle of Song. A bard is a versatile individual, equally skilled at entertainment and espionage. These talents are perfectly matched to the city of Sharn, which is both the cultural heart of Brayland and a nexus for intrigue and diplomacy. Bards have much to gain from the company of other bards as they exchange news, stories, and songs. For this purpose, long ago, a group of the finest bards in Sharn founded the Circle of Song, an alliance of entertainers and adventurers. The first and oldest outpost of the Circle of Song is the Golden Horn in the University District of Upper Memphis. A few bards are almost always in residence and willing to share news and stories. Other less elaborate outposts are maintained in Sharn, and over the centuries the Circle has established outposts in most major cities and many similar communities across Corvair. These cities are usually taverns or inns that have hidden areas accessible only to members of the Circle. Bards are expected to set aside personal rivalries within the Circle outpost, and any kind of combat or violence is prohibited. Violating this rule results in immediate expulsion from the Circle, at the least. Arcane orders, its mighty towers and floating spires, mark Sharn as a symbol of mystic power and achievement. Soon after the founding of the city, the greatest wizards of Brayland choose it to be the seat of their arcane order. Its goal was to celebrate excellence in the mystic arts, bringing together the greatest practitioners of magic in a society that rivals Arcanix and the institutions of Ondair. A schism split the original society, but today both of the branches of the original organization, the Esoteric Order of Eberron and the Guild of Starlight and Shadows, are recognized and respected throughout Brayland. Each one has lesser halls in every major city of the nation. The Esoteric Order of Eberron. Members of the larger of the two societies, the Esoteric Order of Eberron, take a vow to use their talents to preserve and advance civilization and operate within the confines of the law. The Esoteric Order helped Galifar I maintain the rule of law, and many of its members served Brayland during this last war. Although its members aren't prohibited from studying any form of magic, the specialties of the order are abjuration, divination, and evocation magic. The Guild of Starlight and Shadows. Brayland's other arcane order encourages independence and innovation, qualities that contribute to a mutually uncomfortable relationship between the Guild of Starlight and Shadows and the Sharn Watch. The schools of conjuration, enchantment, and illusion are favored by this group. Warlocks, especially those of the Archfey, are generally welcome. Members of the esoteric order look down on starlight wizards, and in turn the guild members often mock the wizards of the esoteric order and play pranks on them. The Guild of Starlight and Shadows has its hall in the Deathgate district in Middle Tavrix Landing. The Closed Circle. There is one dark stain in the shared history of the arcane orders. 300 years ago, a third order arose in Sharn, a sinister cabal called the Closed Circle. Its orders specialized in transmutation and necromancy, and dabbled in the forbidden lore of the Delkir and the Dragon below. It is said that the members of the Closed Circle went mad and sought to summon terrible things. Whether the truth, the guild was wiped out more than 200 years ago by the combined action of the Church of the Silver Flame, the Esoteric Order, and the Guild of Starlight and Shadows. Hidden workshops of the Closed Circle might still be found in Sharn, where vengeful liches or other wizards of the Circle practice their dark arts in hiding. Well, the witches can do it too, if they really want to. The Wards of Sharn. Sharn is a vertical city, and elevation is an indication of status and wealth. Each quarter is roughly divided into 3 levels, and the combination of quarter and level defines a ward. Thus, wards have names such as Lower Dura, Upper Central, and Middle Memphis. Upper wards are the domain of the rich and powerful. Here you'll find the finest goods and the most expensive services. Only those who maintain a wealthy aristocratic lifestyle can afford the prices for meals and lodging, and the adventurers who maintain a squalid or wretched lifestyle might be treated with disdain. Violence is rare in any of the upper wards, and the Sharn Watch actively patrols these areas. Though the guards here might be corrupt, just as in a middle or lower ward, they are already being well paid by powerful nobles and criminal organizations, and they work efficiently in the service of these forces. Middle wards are home to the middle classes. Here you'll find bustling markets and taverns, along with a wide range of entertainment and housing. Most goods and services are affordable by those of a modest or comfortable lifestyle, with a few higher price options tucked away. The Sharn Watch has a presence, but not as strong as the one in the upper wards. Lower wards house the hard-worked laborers, along with the destitute and the desperate, including refugees who lost everything in the war, and orphans who never had anything to begin with. Services priced for a modest lifestyle can be found, but overall the lowest wards are home to those who have no better than a poor lifestyle. A visitor who displays signs of a wealthy or aristocratic lifestyle might attract unwanted attention. There are stereotypes that don't apply to all wards. Dura is a particularly poor quarter, meaning that Upper Dura is effectively a middle ward in economic terms, similarly because Central Plateau is a hub of wealth and power. Lower Central is effectively a middle ward. Each ward is further subdivided into districts where neighborhoods are divided by an economic role, a separate culture, or both. For example, Lower North Edge includes the districts of Stoneyard, Longstairs, and North Market. It is generally true that the combination of a district's ward and quarter will give you a broad idea of what to expect there. A district in Upper Central will typically be well kept and swarming with guards, while a district in Lower Dura will be squalid and dangerous. Getting around. Sharn is an enormous city. Traveling on foot from one side of the city to the other can be very time-consuming. Here are some travel time guidelines. It takes at least 30 minutes across a ward. If you're traveling between wards, add 30 minutes for each ward you pass through. Dura and Tavrix Landing are especially large. Double the time it takes to move through one of them. Traveling from district to district allows the use of bridges and ramps, along with magic lifts. Vast floating discs that slowly ascend and descend along threads of mystical energy. Lifts are mainly used to move cargo and can be up to 30 feet in diameter. Most lifts have rails but aren't fully enclosed. If combatants fight on the lift, someone falling or being pushed off the ledge is always a possibility. For a speedier journey through the streets, House Orion manages a system of carriages for hire. Taking an Orin carriage cuts travel time in half and costs 2 copper points per ward traveled. Flight, of course, is the fastest way to get around in Sharn, cutting travel time down to 1/6 of the walking pace. It's also more expensive at 2 silver points per ward. The most common form of aerial transport is a sky coach, but many flying mounts, including hippogriffs, griffins, pterodons, and giant owls, can be found for hire around the city. And let's see, important districts in the central plateau. Um, let's see. Dura Quarter. Okay, yeah, these are all tables. Okay. Highest Towers is the seat of city government. The district is also where airships arrive and depart. Koronanth is named for the great temple of Koran that lies at its center. Any flying trains? Not that I know of. I mean, at all. I mean, like, throughout the entirety of Dungeons and Dragons, I don't think there's ever quite been a flying train. Platinum Height. Oh, okay. Koroneth, named for the great temple of Koran that lies at the center. This district is dedicated to wealth and finance. Money changers, banks, and grand vaults are found here, in addition to the estates of the powerful merchants. Platinum Heights. Yeah, okay. Devin is saying, there's no flying trains. Well, be the change that you want in Dungeons and Dragons. Write the flying trains homebrew. And then once you're able to put it on a homebrew website, send it to me and then I'll read it during one of these streams. Platinum Heights, catering to Sharn's elite. This district provides a wide range of shops and services of wealthy to aristocratic quality. That's an idea. Sky Sedge Park, home to 3 sprawling rooftop parks, this district provides a touch of wilderness in the heart of the city. A small community of immigrants from the Eldine reaches maintains 3 groves and gardens. Maintains these groves and gardens. There are more than 3 of them. Ambassador Towers, this district contains the embassies to the Thronehold nations, along with Arianel and Rirdra. It is also the seat of the Citadel and home to the Baelish Museum of Fine Art. Dragon Towers, this is the primary place to do business with representatives of dragon-marked houses. All these houses have outposts here, and Civic, Thrask, Juresco, and Caneth have their primary enclaves in Dragon Towers. The Sovereign Towers, a district filled with a vast assortment of temples and shrines. It is home to the 2 most important temples in Sharn, the Pavilion of the Hosts and the Cathedral of the Cleansing Flame. Sword Point, the Garrison District, houses the forces that police and defend Central Plateau, including the Sharn Watch and the detachment of the Royal Army. The Trade Fair is a merchant district offering legal goods and services of modest to comfortable quality. Voldrey's Hearth is a haven for travelers. This district contains reliable inns ranging from modest to comfortable quality. And Alandra's Kitchen. Neither the best nor the worst Sharn has to offer. Alandra's Kitchen is home to a wide number of taverns and restaurants of modest to comfortable quality. Dora Quarter. Clifftop. This district caters to adventurers with a wide array of businesses aimed at explorers and fortune hunters. Is a home base of the Clifftop Adventurers Guild. Dagger Watch holds garrisons for both the Sharn Watch and the Baelish Army, along with businesses and residences for those who support the garrisons. Highhold is a district built by dwarves for dwarves. Highhold has strong Moor influences in its architecture. It's a good place to find Moor goods and is home to talented smiths and brewers. High Water is the finest residential district in Dura and the seat of House Fidelis. High Water is largely comfortable in quality with a few wealthy estates. Hope's Peak, a relatively new temple district with shrines and churches that relocated from Fallen in Lower Dura. Hope's Peak includes several monasteries and a sacred grove. Overlook is noteworthy for its Kalashtar community, which maintains a community center, a shrine devoted to the Path of Light, and a few restaurants serving Sarlonian cuisine. Bazaar, the largest commercial district in Sharn, an excellent place to buy or sell used or possibly stolen goods. The Broken Arch, once a proud residential district, Broken Arch has fallen into disrepair. Its housing is poor to modest in quality, though the shells of wealthy manors can still be seen. Harris Folly, a jumble of architectural styles, Harris Folly is a place to gamble and enjoy modest food or drink. The Hollow Tower is essential for aerial sports, and Harris Folly is where the race of the 8 winds begins and ends. Rattlestone. Rattlestone is a tenement district. Its people have little but their pride, but there's a strong camaraderie between them. Stormhold, a comfortable residential district. Stormhold is home to a few powerful families that have remained in Dura. It's in better condition than most of Middle Dura, and the Nith mercenaries protect the streets. Tumbledown is a poor residential district. It has experienced recent incursions from Dask. Underlook, the center of Sharn's nightlife before Memphis Plateau was built. Underlook is a collection of poor taverns and inns. Khalistan, home to an assortment of squalid and poor businesses. Khalistan is a nexus for criminal activity and is known as a stronghold for the Boromar clan. Fallen, Shorn's oldest temple district, it was abandoned after a floating tower crashed into the district during the last war. Now it's a collection of wretched ruins. The Gate of Gold is a squalid sum, providing miserable housing for desperate people. Malion's Gate, a poor district inhabited by goblins. Malion's Gate has become a haven for monstrous immigrants from Drome and Dargoon, along with members of Dask. Old Keep, another poor slum, largely home to dock workers from Precarious. Precarious, the sky docks of Precarious pass goods between the towers and the port on the Dagger River. The district is filled with warehouses along with a handful of poor taverns. A small community of Sarlonians live here. And the stores, which are a warehouse district with a large halfling population that is made up of ties to the Boromar clan. In the Memphis Plateau, important districts. Denias, found by gnome immigrants from Zelargo. Denias is a haven for those interested in Zel culture. It is home to many sages and artisans and a hotbed of schemes and intrigue. The Ivy Towers, a residential district, includes comfortable homes and modest apartments. Many of the students and faculty from Morgrave University live here. The Seventh Tower, a shopping district with restaurants and goods of comfortable to wealthy quality. Seventh Tower is especially noteworthy for Little Zendrick, a collection of galleries whose owners buy and sell goods from Zendrick. University. This district is dominated by Morgrave University. It's also a nexus for sophisticated entertainment, including the Art Temple, the Grand Stage, and the Great Hall of Arion. Kasan Bridge, a mercantile district with goods of modest to comfortable quality, home to a significant number of immigrants from the Shadow Marches. Kasan Bridge is a place to visit for exotic marcher, herbs, and cuisine. Everbright, the district is a source for magical goods and services, exotic components, mage rights for hire, common or uncommon magic items. All of these and more can be found here. The Little Plains, founded by Talenta halflings. This district includes a central campground for visiting halfling nomads. The permanent residents are mostly halflings as well. Talentan foods and crafts can be found here, along with displays of traditional skills and pastimes. Smoky Tower is safer than the lower wards and less expressive than the upper Memphis. Smoky Towers has plenty of entertainment options. The Classic Theater is the most popular venue, but Smoky Towers offers a wide variety of more exotic fare. The Warden Towers. This district is the primary garrison of the Sharn Watch in Memphis. It is home to a community of Lazar immigrants, and the Broken Anchor is a tavern connecting to Lazar travelers. The downstairs district is primarily known for food and drink, though most of its taverns and inns are only modest in quality. The Four Sails serve some of the finest food in Sharn. The recent success of the Diamond Theater has also drawn travelers to the district. Firelight. The district is a destination for those who seek illicit forms of entertainment. Many forms of illegal gambling and paid companionship can be found in Firelight. Paid companionship, people. We're once again falling short of saying courtesan and falling way short of saying prostitute. It is also the most common location of the Burning Ring. Torchfire, a district with a notorious reputation, celebrated for cheap entertainment and infamous for its dangerous alleys. Its theaters specialize in musical comedy and lowbrow entertainment. There are lots of opportunities for hopeful amateurs to get a stage in Torchfire. Carry on, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. There you go. Say no more. Thank you, Devin. The Northridge Quarter. The Crystal Bridge is a peaceful residential district with many wealthy and aristocratic estates. Oak Towers is a residential district where housing ranges from comfortable to aristocratic. Construction in Oak Towers uses materials and styles drawn from Arianel, and the district is home to many of Shard's established elf and half-elf families. Shalias, the district is a bastion for the culture and traditions of the elves of Arianel. It includes a variety of businesses specializing in Ariani goods, as well as the Temple of the Undying Court. High Hope, a center for worship for the people of North Edge. High Hope includes temples of the Silver Flame and the Sovereign Host, along with many similar shrines. Holdfast. It's the heart of Sharn's native dwarf population. The ancestors of the Holdfast dwarves helped build Sharn, and many of its people are stonemasons, artifacts, and smiths. Holdfast dwarves are proud of their Sharn roots and have little interest in more customs or traditions. The Longstairs. The population of this peaceful residential district is mostly made up of dwarves, humans, and half-elves. Neighbors here generally stand together to deal with any trouble. The North Market is open to simple, locally produced goods. Due to the significant shelter population in Lower North Edge, North Market offers goods and services aimed at shifters, as well as those reflecting an Eldeen influence. And the Stoneyard. The residential district is home to the majority of Sharn shifters, including resident immigrants from the Eldeen reaches and long-established local families. The district includes a makeshift Hazrak court and a shrine devoted to the Wardens of the Wood. The conditions are poor to modest. Tavik's Landing, important districts. The Copper Arch, built around the Denith garrison that polices the upper ward. It contains shops and services, catering to the wealthy elite. Ocean View. This residential district is home to the most influential citizens of Sharn. It has a mix of wealthy mansions and aristocratic estates. Silvergate, the shopping district patronized by those with gold to spare. All manner of the jewelry and expensive clothing can be found here, along with aristocratic food and lodging. Sunrise, the district provides housing for the shopkeepers and servants who keep under Tavik's Landing running. Housing is largely modest in quality with a few comfortable towers. The 12 Pillars. This is the civic heart of Upper Tavik's Landing. The 12 Pillars is named surround the courthouse, the Tower of Law, where visitors can get licensed to carry weapons in the ward. Cornerstone is a haven for travelers. Cornerstone has a range of comfortable inns and taverns. It's built around the vast Cornerstone arena and is a center for many major sporting events. Deathgates live for the nearby city of the dead. This district houses the Deathgate guilds and businesses that cater to adventurers. House Denith recruits mercenaries at the outpost here. Greywall, the district was founded long ago by Karnathi immigrants, and its people are proud of their heritage. It's a haven for many Karnathi travelers traveling through Sharn. Tavik's Market, this district specializes in produce and other goods brought in by farmers from the surrounding countryside. The Black Arch. The district is filled with checkpoints at Enchanted Gate. These portals are generally open, but in times of trouble, Black Arch can become an impassable fortress. Cogsgate. The warehouse district is the gateway to the cogs, and shipments of ore and other goods regularly pass through here. House Kundarek has high security storage facilities for rent, and House Denith Outpost hires out Blademark mercenaries for venturing below. Dragon Eyes tends to cater to the needs of weary travelers, providing a wide range of lodging, food, and entertainment for tourists. It is also the home of most of Sharn's changeling population, and many changelings use their gifts to entertain and amuse travelers. Some say that's home of the Tyrant's Criminal Guild, but if so, that place is well hidden. Okay, the High Walls. The district was converted into an internment center during the last war. Since the end of the war, it is transformed into a refugee camp. Most of the residents are Sirens who fled the morning, but High Walls also includes Braylor citizens who lost their homes in the war. Terminus. This district is based around Terminus Station, where the Lightning Rail enters and leaves Sharn. Most local businesses serve the station or the travelers. Or the Roan's Gate. Travelers who are on the main road enter Sharn through the Roan's Gate, passing through a huge statue of the legendary Queen Roran. Many of the Dragonmarked houses maintain shops here, so travelers can send messages, hire bodyguards, or make use of other services. Above and below Sharn, important districts. The Skyway is a district that floats above Central Plateau and Manthis, but atop an island of solidified clouds. The richest people in all of Sharn live here. Cliffside boasts bring cargo and passengers to the dark cliffside on the edge of the Dagger River. From there, enormous lifts carry people up to Precarious. This dangerous district contains an assortment of taverns, shabby inns, and warehouses. Ashblack, the first foundries of Sharn were built here. The district is devoted to industry, and the environment here is sweltering and claustrophobic. And Blackbones. Blackbones is newer than Ashblack, and it shows. The district's corridors are wider and better lit. The foundries are well maintained, and the district has a few thriving businesses. Most of the warforged that reside in Sharn work in Blackbones. Whew, that was a lot to get through. And we take a moment to take a swig of water. I don't know why, but it seems like my throat feels a little drier today than it usually does. Alright, so let me just take a moment to preview an area that's just right below this one. And so, yeah, I think the remainder of this is, just going to be similar types of descriptions. I don't want to go through them all because, this will take up the entirety of the stream. But I am going to read this last article from the Sharn Inquisitive. Who owns Sharn? Portrait of the Irtanes and the 60 Families. If you've read more than 2 issues of the Sharn Inquisitive, you've seen at least 2 stories about the Iltern family. King Boronel might rule Breland, and the Lord Mayor might be our highest appointed official. But the Irtanes are the true royalty of our city. What citizen of Sharn doesn't have an opinion about the fate of Lord Dillian Irtane, lost at sea a decade ago? Many are sure that he's a prisoner of the Sahagin, which would explain why Lady Celeria has been funding expeditions into the Sahagin realms. Another camp maintains that Lord Dalian staged his death so he could embrace a swashbuckling life as a pirate king. If the truth ever comes out, you can be sure you'll read about it here. Matriarch Lady Celeira Irtane is the queen of the high society in Sharn. Her activities and those of the Irtane children account for just as much newsprint as their father used to. Well, there's your pirates. Well, actually, the pirates are among the Sahagin. We had talked all about that in an earlier chapter. The dalliances of the younger siblings, Sira and Durrell, sell more issues of the Inquisitive whenever such are reported. And the wedding of the middle sister, Cariana Irtane, and main Jehalin of Arianol will surely be the biggest social event of 998 YK. The Irtane fortune is tied to the City of Towers. Twain Gold funded the construction of many of the towers of Sharn, and the family owns vast sections of the city. You've likely heard of the 60 families of Sharn, considered the guiding lights of the city. Most assume that these luminaries are ancient and established. Their status is tied to a royal decree. In fact, when the Tanes built their mansion on Skyway, they ordered the architects to design a banquet hall that would seat 60 families and their servants. The original 60 families were those that received standing invitations to the first Tane Gala, though their list has remained generally stable through the years. Just last year, Salira expelled the Ermoros family and gave their place to Sadin Boromar, a surprising advancement for a family that began as a bunch of cliffside hooligans. Anyone who strives to rise in Sharn society must earn the favor of the 60. Similarly, those who seek to explore and adventure in the wake of the last war can surely find patrons among these elite. And from our desks, we will be watching to see which families will be the next to rise and fall. Okay. Chapter 4. Building Eberron Adventures. Get your own Eberron adventures up and running using the inspiration in this chapter. The tables and advice in this chapter expand on the material in Chapter 3 of the Dungeon Master's Guide. Think of this chapter as an extensive library of ideas. This chapter begins with a look at 3 key themes that pervade many Eberron adventures: recurring villains, action, and intrigue. Following that overview is an in-depth look at various organizations and other elements you can use to drive the adventures you create. Such elements include maps of locations that can serve as thrilling set pieces, information on planes of existence, elemental-powered airships and the lightning rail, and an introductory adventure set in Sharn, which I had already said that I'm not going to be reading that. Specific monsters, non-player characters can be found in the Monster Manual or Chapter 6 of this book. Adventure themes. A group of adventurers leaves the dark, rainy city, putting its mean streets behind them. They board a flame-ringed airship for a journey across the continent. But they're attacked by Eberron riding bandits on the way, and must fight for their lives as the airship hurtles towards the ground. After surviving a crash through a combination of quick thinking and heroic effort, they find themselves stranded on the gray mist of the moorland, facing the dangers of a war-ravaged land as they try to find their way back to their original destination. The greatest horrors they are about to face might be the ones that lurk in the depths of their own hearts. As discussed in the introduction to this book, pulp adventure and noir intrigue are two of the major themes that interlace in Eberron. Weaving those themes together, or exploring either one in isolation, can give the Eberron stories a unique feel. This section is an introduction to those themes designed to help you tell stories that fit well in Eberron. It explores techniques for making compelling recurring villains and for keeping the action moving over the course of an adventure. It discusses how to use the Last War as a theme and a setting for adventures, and details the Mournland as an adventure location. Recurring villains. The most effective villains are the ones that return to plague their heroic nemesis. When the heroes foil the schemes of an evil mastermind, the clever villain escapes to fight another day. A well-developed recurring villain can put a face into the sinister conspiracies that lurk in the darkness and thus strengthen the player's sense of immersion in the world. You can make a recurring villain in your campaign more intriguing by introducing moral ambiguity to the villain's background, possibly through references through the individual's experiences during the last war. From the rite of passage, back from the dead, it was too good to be true. A year ago, the nefarious Elias Ilradan was presumed dead when she fell from an airship into the middle of Lake Galifar. Her scheme to bring the towers of Arcanix to the ground likewise seemed ended. But yesterday, according to eyewitness reports, Elranan was seen in the common room of Passage's own Kingstar's Inn, talking with two other unsavory-looking characters who could not be identified. How to keep villains alive. The first task in creating a good recurring villain is ensuring that the villain survives the first encounter with the adventurers in order to come back to plague them again. Have lackeys do the work. A villain can easily postpone their first face-to-face confrontation with the adventurers by having lackeys soften the party up, all the while making sure that the adventurers know whom they work for, thus enhancing the villain's reputation. Using all available resources. A smart villain, especially one with access to magic, can put a lot of obstacles in the way of an adventuring party. Mechanical and magical traps, wars against divination, and protective magic items are just a few of the security measures available to a resourceful villain. Keep in mind that the reports from surviving lackeys and news about the adventures from other sources can give the villain enough information about the party's capabilities to prepare an appropriate countermeasures. Having an escape plan, secret passages, spells of invisibility or teleportation, flying mounts, and throngs of minions can help a villain escape when a confrontation goes badly. Any villain likely has at least one fallback plan. Take hostages. Most adventurers won't be willing to attack the villain if they fear that the villain's lackeys are about to slaughter innocent captives the moment that they draw their swords. Wow. Are you sure you're talking about my adventuring group? Because my adventuring group may well be privy to shooting the hostages. Returning from death. Death is not a final fate for player characters. It doesn't need to be for villains either. It's conceivable that dying could make a villain more powerful and more angry at the meddling adventurers. Alternatively, the characters might assume that a villain is dead. After falling over a waterfall, being trapped in a burning building, or being swallowed by a purple worm, only to discover that the villain survived and is hungry for revenge. The writer of this manual isn't familiar with murder hobo parties. Yeah. Improving villains. Adventurers get more powerful over time, so if a villain is going to remain a relevant threat, it needs to be more powerful as well. Mechanical improvement, add class levels or hit dice to the villain, and improve its challenge rating to make it more relevant to higher level characters. NPC stat blocks. Some of the stat blocks in the monster manual can reflect the same character at different stages of advancement. For example, they might confront a villain who uses a stat block of a mage and then returns later as an archmage. This is something that I usually do in my own games. You can also use stat blocks and other sources to add to the sequence so the characters could meet this aspiring villain as an apprentice wizard and later as an invoker, both of which are in Volo's Guide to Monsters. Organizations as villains. You might want to look in terms of the organization a villain belongs to or represents. For example, low-level adventurers might find low-level agents of the Order of the Emerald Claw and grow to love the sight of their claw-shaped symbol and green cloaks. As they attain higher levels, the adventurers will face increasingly more powerful members of the Order. Shades of Evil. Moral ambiguity is a feature of the noir genre that can add riches, well, not even genre, like genre. Okay, taking a drink and then starting over. Me. Moral ambiguity is a feature of the noir genre. I did it again. Moral ambiguity is a feature of the noir genre that can add richness and complexity to an Eberron adventure. In a world where a red dragon isn't necessarily evil, and a bronze one isn't necessarily good, it's impossible to know who you can trust, and even the actions of a villain might not fit nearly into clear-cut definitions of good and evil. Exercise some caution when exploring noir themes in the stories you develop. It can be fun for some people to wrestle with moral quandaries, but it doesn't work for all playgroups. I think we got our out. We got our way out. If there's no good solution to a quandary, if the characters have no choice but to follow a course of action they abhor, some players might end up unhappy. So then, here is a morally ambiguous villain table. Okay, if you roll a d4, on a 1, the villain is targeting people within a Baron Dragon mark in a desperate hope of preventing another War of the Mark. On a 2, the villain is suffering under a terrible curse, and their increasingly serious crimes are an effort to fight off the curse. On a 3, the villain is rising to power through entirely legal means, winning popular support, and working within the system. And 4, the villain's schemes are directed at preventing the release of a demonic overlord. Not the villain you know. Not every villain is a mastermind who schemes in the shadows or is a world-destroying horror. Sometimes the most significant villain is someone that the characters see every day. Somebody who moves around in society in plain sight, but keeps their evil deeds well hidden. Use the villain you know table to add some depth and detail. On a D6 table, on a 1, a con artist takes advantage of people who fall for their scams. On a 2, a cowardly politician fleeces the poor of their last few coins without technically doing anything wrong. On a 3, a righteous zealot is continually poking into the character's business, judging their actions and methods while doing even worse things in the shadows. On a 4, a powerful figure in a dragon-marked house is using the house's resources for criminal deeds, but there's no trail of evidence leading back to the villain. On a 5, a crime lord has local authorities on the payroll, so no official action can ever be taken to stop their criminal activities. Yes. Okay, so... Alright. And then on a 6, a villainous mastermind cooperates with local law enforcement to track down and eliminate rival villains without ever giving the authorities a peek into their own evil deeds. I was trying to subtly recalibrate my character's position, but instead I ended up closing the whole program. Okay, I think we're back now. Okay, hopefully that's working now. Okay. The mysterious villain. Let me see. In contrast to a villain who's part of the character's everyday life, an otherworldly villain isn't only anonymous, but also fundamentally mysterious. It's not just a question of who the villain is, but also of what the villain is, and what extraordinary measures might be required to put a stop to their villainy. Even as their adventurers discover that their long-term nemesis is one of the inspired, they still need to learn the secrets of the inspired and their quarry masters in order to figure out how to deal with the threat. Some mysterious villains wield enough power to threaten the entire world through colossal strength, mastery of magic, dizzying intellect, or overwhelming charisma. These villains typically lurk in the shadows, pulling the strings of the minions and partners while rarely making an appearance themselves. These villains are especially hard to get rid of, even if they're banished or imprisoned. Their magic and their network of servants ensure that their reach extends far beyond their physical presence. Driving forces. Once again, this is a D6 table. Driving force, the chamber. Oh, actually, I think they're describing that slightly below. So yeah, I think I'm not going to read that just yet. Let me see. See, I just skipped way ahead just by clicking that one link. Adventure themes, action. There we are. Adventures in the pulp tradition tend to start with a bang and proceed at a breakneck pace, reaching climax and pulse-pounding encounters across high-speed vehicles and grand melees in dramatic locations. Action doesn't have to mean combat, but ensuring that the world is in constant motion and the player characters is a good way to keep their interest high. As a story kickoff, a D6 table on a 1, a quiet night, the tavern door bursts open and a group of soldiers calls for one party member by name. On a 2, an explosion rocks a market, sending things flying. 3, a vehicle crashes near the party, people are hurt and need help, and whatever caused the crash is still around somewhere. 4, 2 groups of people start fighting each other, blood is drawn, and bystanders are getting hurt. 5, chanting words of the draconic prophecy, a dragon appears and starts causing mayhem. And 6, a tavern patron suddenly leaps up and attacks one adventurer, scratching and biting in blind fury, keeping the action going. In a new development table, out of a D8 roll, the scary roll table. Yes. Oh, but suddenly, roll a D6. On a D8, the new development table. On a 1, one or more of the minions of the adventure's primary villain arrive to put a stop to the party's meddling. On a 2, someone else with the same goal as the party shows up to get them out of the way. On a 3, someone is out for revenge against the party for a past wrong. On a 4, someone has a violent argument with an NPC in the same room as the adventurers. On a 5, someone wants a special item carried by one of the characters. On a 6, a jealous person thinks one of the adventurers is meddling with the person's romantic partner. On a 7, a person in love with the villain tries to stop the party from interfering with the villain's business. And on an 8, a monster bursts in looking for food. Intrigue. Putting a mystery in front of the characters at the very start of an adventure sets the tone for what's ahead and draws them into the story. This story opening table offers some way to draw the characters into the mystery. Out of a D6 table, on a 1, the party receives a detailed reading from a street fortune teller that lays out the start of the adventure. On a 2, a courier escorts the party to an elemental airship where a wealthy patron outlines their mission. On a 3, at an extravagant costume ball, a masked guest asks for the party's help. On a 4, in a seedy section of town, the disguised heir of a dragon-marked house approaches the characters with an offer. On a 5, a homunculus delivers an anonymous letter that contains an offer for employment, but no clue to the author's identity. And on a 6, a professor from Moorgrave reaches out to one of the party members, who is a former student, to ask a very important favor. The plot thickens. A D8 table. Uh, on the D8 table, on a 1, the apparent victim in the situation is actually the villain. On a 2, a supposedly valuable object is actually worthless, or vice versa. On a 3, a valuable object does not belong to the person who claims to own it. On a 4, what's actually precious is not a work of art, but a map to other information hidden on it, inside a statue, inside a painting in the frame, and so on. On a 5, someone is in love with one of the party members, or with the villain. On a 6, someone is a relative of one of the party members. On number 7, a friend or former ally is working with a villain. And on number 8, the initial plot is a distraction from the actual plot. That is very wide open. I don't know what I would do if I actually rolled on this table and I got an 8. Oh no. Well, okay. Secretly, we've all been suffering from illusion, and now we're actually in Barovia. I don't know. That's one idea. Just off at the top of my head. What do you want from me? The Ararum. On the surface, the Ararum appears to be an exclusive society for the richest and most influential people of Corvair. Merchants, priests, military officers, and other luminaries gather around for galas and salons. Beneath this gilded veneer, the members of the Ararum use their shared wealth and power to pursue their selfish goals, and a secret cabal at the heart of this fraternity dreams of global domination. Shutter Island roll. Yeah, pretty much. The Ararum is divided into 4 sub-orders called Concords: Copper, Silver, Gold, and Platinum in order of ascendance. Higher rank provides a member with improved access to the resources of the Ararum and a greater voice in society meetings. The Ararum isn't a secret society, and its meeting halls can be found in most major cities. Many powerful people openly wear the 8 rings, one on each finger with the medal indicating the rank of the wearer, that label them as Ararum members. The Ararum frequently engages in acts of philanthropy, and thus some members can be celebrated by their local communities. All of these activities are entirely illegitimate. The Ararum is a society for wealthy scholars and philanthropists. But there is a secret order that ranks higher in the Platinum Concord, an inner circle known as the Shadow Cabinet. I think we mentioned them in an earlier chapter. The members of this cabal are nobles, but they're not kings. They're powerful industrialists, but not dragon-marked barons. They're determined to become the true rulers of Corvair, whether by binding the current barons and monarchs to their will, or by tearing down the current systems and creating something new. In stories driven by action, the Ararum can fund expeditions to exotic lands, and use magical doomsday devices to hold cities for ransom. In adventures driven by intrigue, the Ararum provides an opportunity to explore the lure of gold, and how far the characters might go in the service of an amoral person. The Ararum and the War. The last war gave birth to the Shadow Cabinet. The war ignited the passions of Concordians who blamed the monarchs of the 5 nations for the vast devastation and loss. It also created opportunities that never existed under the United Galifar. Many of the members of the Ararum gained influence by bankrolling one or more war efforts, or by stepping in to maintain the infrastructure while the government directed its action to military matters. The Ararum also contains a number of powerful military officers and warlords. Some despise the nobles that drove them to war. Others are furious that the war ended without a decisive victory. Either way, these can provide the Shadow Cabinet with unexpected military power. Now, amid the war's cooling ashes, the Ararum's power is fragmented. On several occasions, investments and gambles that paid dividends in money and power to one Concordian sapped the fortune of another because each was unknowingly working against one another's interests. Huge collections of art, historical artifacts, and precious tomes were destroyed or lost during the war, and the Ararum's leaders salivate at the thought of recovering some of those riches. Ararum NPCs. Concordians are defined by their wealth and power. If you create an Ararum NPC, consider the source of that person's wealth and how it's expressed. The dwarf Antis Irsildorek is a counselor of the Platinum Concord and founder of the Shadow Cabinet. He owns a vast gold and silver mine in the Moor Holes and mints his own currency, and he travels in a gilded airship. Loyal Dyson is a Karnathi slumlord who has made a fortune providing low rent and low-quality housing for refugees. He lost his hand in an industrial accident and has replaced it with a golden prosthetic. Okay, Aurum NPCs, a D4 table. An aging dwarf, a retired general, and an Aurorum Concordian who collects usual constructs hoping to find a way to transfer his mind into a superior body. An Aurum Concordian, renowned for having the finest arcane library in Corvair, adventurers might help them collect more tome. But when a number of prominent wizards are murdered and their research goes missing, is the Concordian to blame? On a 3, a member of the Gold Concord is on the run from the Aurorum after learning a terrible secret. And on a 4, an imprisoned Concordian mobilizes a network of contacts and well-placed Aurorum members in order to secure their own release. So, campaign themes and missions. I'll just look at the D4 table for this one. Aurora missions, a D6 table. On a 1, retrieve a journal from a ship that sailed to Zendrick and never returned. On a 2, locate the grave of a certain dragon-marked scion and retrieve the signet buried with him. On a 3, make friends with a scholar but at the local university and then learn their vices. On a 4, recover a trove of art, artifacts, or recorded knowledge that was lost in a battle during the last war. On a 5, capture an officer from a rival nation's army, or convince the officer to defect to gain access to their specialized knowledge. Or on a 6, sabotage negotiations between a dragon-marked house and a local government on a plan that will determine the Aurum status. Okay, on to the cults of the dragon below. The cults of the dragon below are made up of people fanatically devoted to the Delkier, or the fiendish overlords. Though some chose this path, most are drawn to it by strange visions and corrupting madness. Like weeds breaking through the foundation of Corvair, the cults of the dragon below can spring up anywhere at any time. Unlike other organizations with global reach, the cults have no organizing structure or principle. They are in fiction, inflicted on the world without reason. Cult of the dragon below is a term that outsiders use to describe any sect devoted to the Delkier or the overlords. Each cult pursues its own mad schemes tied to its dark patron. Even cults associated with the same master might not recognize each other as allies. Okay. The cults of the types of cults of the dragon below, a D8 table. On a 1, a cult of Belashira murders innocents and steals their eyeballs, magically preserving the image of the very last thing their eyes beheld. The cultists collect the eyes in a deep vault while new eyes grow in strange places on their own bodies. On a 2, the cult of Dern the Corrupter seeks to transcend humanity by bonding with ambient aberrations and symbionts. On a 3, a cult of the Curzin, the Delkier Prince of Slime, keeps a gibbering mouther in the basement and feeds their elders to this creature, believing their voices can still be heard in the whispers of the beast. On a 4, a cult of Rak Tolkesh believes that this life is only a stepping stone, and members earn a path to paradise by spilling blood and spreading strife. On a 5, a cult of Belashira serves a beholder messiah, believing that only the Eye Tyrant has a vision that can lead them into a golden age. On a 6, a cult of Dern, led by a mind flayer, kidnaps people with dragon marks, seeking to decipher the marks and transfer them to others. Blood for the dragon below. It's just an expression. It basically means any kind of cult with dark ulterior motives. And on an 8, on a 7, the Garcane think tank has become a cult of Sulcatash, so members believe they can heal the damage of the morning. But the eldritch machine they are building will surely cause more horror. And on an 8, a cult of Rak Tolkesh has sprung up among a local militia, Its members are convinced that refugees from the war are secretly inhuman monsters and must be destroyed. The war and its aftermath created a fertile breeding ground for the cults of the dragon below it. In this time of uncertainty and fear, it's easy for people to gravitate towards a group that provides a sense of purpose or a promise of security. This mindset is intensified by the spread of refugees in the wake of the mourning and the lingering animosity that continues to divide people. NPCs, once again, a DA table. A monstrous aberration such as a beholder or mind flayer or gibbering mouther lays beneath the popular inn, from where it twists the thoughts and dreams of those who are sleeping above. On a 2, the headmaster of an exclusive magic academy is actually a cult leader who is indoctrinating the students into the cult of Salkatesh. On a 3, a wizard found mad scrawlings hidden in a library book, used by the writing to make contact with the Delkier, and began creating aberration service. On a 4, a mind flayer serving Dern dominates a magistrate and takes control of a city watch using intellect devourers. On a 5, an assassin mixes mind-altering poisons laced with the whispers of a dark entity. On a 6, a dragon-mark heir whose fortunes were ruined in the last war founds a cult within their house. On a 7, the local thieves guild turns from mundane organized crime activities to bizarre murders and acts of chaos. And on an 8, a respected noble behaves more erratically as time goes on, treating their servants and family with random and escalating cruelty. Okay, cultist adventure hooks. A D8 table. On a 1, children throughout town begin reciting the same nursery rhyme, adding increasingly disturbing descriptions as the verses progress. No one knows where they learned the rhyme. On a 2, shadows around the old asylum take a deep, inky cast, and things move just outside of the light. Then the whispered laughing begins. On a 3, a seemingly healthy noble dies of heart failure brought on by extreme terror, but with no clear source. The noble recently had an exquisite portrait painted. Every other person portrayed by the same artist has also died in a similar fashion. Well, then, that's not really a mystery, because it's clearly the artists who are making the paintings. On a 4, in a remote village, a local herbalist is contained for practicing dark magic against the villagers. They swear their innocence to the characters and beg to be exonerated before their scheduled execution. On a 5, magic items begin exhibiting strange side effects, causing minor warping of users' flesh or fraying their users' sanity. On a 6, strange bounty hunters stalk the characters, seemingly aware of all their secrets and loved ones. Odd lumps writhe beneath the hunters' cloaks. On a 7, a crazed hermit wanders into town and commits suicide in a grisly fashion. All the food in the village spoils instantly, and aberrant creatures attack every midnight thereafter. And on an 8, several caravans have gone missing over the course of months. The authorities have mercenary help after the authorities hire mercenary help after an aberration attacks while wearing the signet ring of a missing caravan master. Instead of a murderous artist, how about its cursed paint being made by an evil wizard by the artist, with the artist having no idea what's happening? Okay, good hook. Very good hook, Red. Kudos. I certainly wasn't thinking about it in the moment, but that definitely would be the good way in order to go. That would be the way in order to do that. Okay, I'm going to need another drink of water here. Okay. The Dragon Mark Houses. No other group exerts as much influence over the 5 nations as the combined membership of the Dragon Mark Houses. Each Dragon Mark house is part noble family and part business cartel involved in businesses ranging from hospitality to espionage for hire. The reach of the houses is so extensive that they have interests in every facet of life in the civilized lands of Corvair and beyond. Those interests often bring them to conflict with local rulers and national governments. united Galifar had the strength and influence to impose its will on the collected Dragonmark houses. But in the wake of the war, it remains to be seen if any single nation has the resources to challenge them. An organization called the 12 seeks to mediate disputes and encourage cooperation between the houses. Adventurers could be caught up in the rivalries and the schemes of the houses, or they could work with the 12 in an effort to resolve these feuds. The houses in the war, the Dragonmark houses, generally strive through the last war. Each house's unique talents were easily adapted to the war effort. Neutral in the conflict, the houses made huge profits by selling services and material to every nation involved in the war. For all the houses, ultimately, the war years were a time of vigorous growth and increased influence. In another major development, House Durrani broke away from House Farallon during the war, in part because of the conflict of interest that arose when an espionage organization that was being called on to serve multiple sides in a complex conflict. The Arcane Workshop. An arcane workshop, a sort commonly constructed by the fabricators of House Cannith. These facilities are well stocked with raw materials, artisans' tools, and magical regents. Most of them have small libraries containing works related to the workshop's signature's creation. Arcane workshops have many features in common, from workbenches and tools to diagrams etched into the floors and the walls. Although most workshops are controlled by House Cannith, the house is not the only group of artificers who can build and operate such locations. Characters might find their way to an arcane workshop for a variety of reasons. Some possibilities are outlined in the Adventurer's Table. So, mezzanine level upper workshop, cabinets, a view, balcony that views the downstairs, lockers, a main floor, a forge, a fuel room, and basically that is all that you need to have in order to have a arcane workshop. All right. Thank you very much for tuning in, Queen Vampiress. Have a good night. Take care. Okay, so why would you find yourself in an arcane workshop? This is a D12 table. On a 1, steal a pattern for creating a magic item before the workshop's artificers finish making it. On a 2, petition a ranking officer for access to the workshop for access to a workshop's specialized library. On a 3, use a workshop to create a crucial magic item. On a 4, locate a stolen construct that has been modified for use as a servant in the workshop. On a 5, storm the workshop before the artificers complete a doomsday weapon. On a 6, investigate the workshop for signs of the illegal creation of Warforged. On a 7, defend the workshop against an invasion while the artificers try to repair a magic item. Are we making golems? We might be making golems. There's a very good possibility that we're making golems. On an 8, bring an unknown artifact to the workshop so the artificers can identify it. On a 9, convince the owners of the workshop to give up one of their subordinates who is wanted for crimes in another nation. On a 10, escort a bearer of the Mark of the Making to the closest Cannith workshop. On 11, seek assistance from the workshop's masters to determine why a young artificer's magic is producing unpredictable and dangerous results. And on a 12, request assistance from the artificers in recovering crucial memories from a destroyed construct or a warforged. So, perhaps we're not making a golem, but we are trying to steal a golem's memories. Dragon-marked NPCs, D12 table. A renegade from House Cannith arms a group of bandits with fearsome elemental-bound weapons to prey on caravans, as well as facilities belonging to other houses. On a 2, a gang from the League of the Bitter Blade and House Denise squeezes tribute from local towns in exchange for quote-unquote protection. On a 3, an heir of House Galanda poisons members of other Dragonmark houses who stay in non-Galanda inns, discrediting rival businesses while attacking the houses. On a 4, during a plague, a House Jurasco leader chooses which victims to cure and which to let die. On a 5, a House Kundarek thief from the Warning Guild breaks into non-Kundarek vaults and banks in order to discredit them. On a 6, a House Lorander airship captain uses the vessel to terrorize the countryside. On a 7, a rogue heir of House Medani starts selling secrets, effectively establishing a new espionage guild within the house. On an 8, a disgraced caravan leader turns to banditry, hoping to win back House Orion's favor by disrupting non-Orient trade along a busy route. On a 9, 2 elf assassins, one from House Fairland and one from House Durrani, are each working to discredit or slay the other while spying on local nobility. That's what you call House Spy versus House Spy. On a 10, an heir of House Civis starts blackmailing people based on the content of intercepted messages. On 11, a bounty hunter of House Thrashk hunts one of the characters or an associate of theirs. And on a 12, a rogue heir of House Vidalis is breeding monstrous animals and setting them loose in the countryside. Okay, so themes. The Dragon Mark houses provide an opportunity for your campaign to explore the magic of society and the power of industry in the post-war world. If the adventurers are allied with a dragon-marked house, you can concentrate on the house's positive aspects and its work in moving Corvair beyond the feudalism of Galifar. At the same time, the houses also represent a way to explore the consequences of corporate greed and unrestrained expansion. I am from House Thrashk. I speak for the trees. This self-interest can be a defining feature of some or all the houses, or you can focus on factions within certain houses with idealistic leaders seeking to direct the house along a more responsible path, while barons are driven by greed alone. Adventure hooks, a D12 table. All these seem to be D12 tables. A House Cannith artificer hires his adventurers to steal secrets from a forge associated with a rival branch of the house. On a 2, House Deneath is recruiting adventurers to oppose a sunrise and bandit or monster activity in a nearby forest. On a 3, a hostel run by House Galanda has gained a reputation for being haunted, and the disturbances are growing ever more dangerous. On a 4, people healed at a local Jurasco enclave suddenly manifest strange abilities they never could before, and soon thereafter, a strange curse begins to occur. On a 5, the Kundarek Bank needs brave adventurers to test their new wards by trying to break into their vault. On a 6, the Lorander Sky Captain lost much of their crew in a recent attack by flying monsters, and it hires hands to defend the ship on its return voyage. On a 7, the Medani bodyguard is killed defending their change from assassins, but manages to force the attackers to drop a clue to the identity of their employer. On an 8, the characters are hired to protect a crucial shipment aboard an Orion lighting rail. At a 9, at a carnival run by House Fairland, customers begin acting strangely. They all start humming the same song, which spreads like a virus the more the people hear it. At number 10, a Civis translator has gone missing after being hired to decipher a trove of scrolls, thought destroyed during the last war. On 11, a House Thrashk mine collapses and time is running out for the trapped miners. And then on the 12, House Vidalis needs help recovering a herd of mage-bred horses stolen from a local ranch. Or they're mage-bred, which probably means that they all grew wings and flew away. Okay, the dragons. The dragons of Eberron are much more than mere monsters. Adventurers will really barge into a dragon's lair in search of a treasure hoard. Dragons in this world are either aloof or unapproachable, or they are curious and manipulative, pulling strings behind the scenes or trying to influence the world in arcane ways. Most dragons live on the mystery-shrouded continent of Argonison and avoid contact with those they see as lesser creatures. They are obsessed with the Draconic Prophecy, which is a map of possible futures, rather than a clear-cut prediction. Its paths are revealed in the motion of planes and moons and the actions of the dragon-mark houses, and in dozens of other subtle manifestations. Most dragons that are active in Corvair are part of the cabal known as the Chamber. Okay, the Chamber. Conspiracy theorists insist that a network of dragons is hidden in Corvair, and they use powerful magic and humanoid agents to work their will across the continent and beyond. These claims are usually dismissed as madness, but they are in fact correct. The Chamber is a cabal of dragons that have monitored Corvair for thousands of years, treating humanoids as pawns in their ancient game. First and foremost, dragons of the Chamber are observers, gathering information about new aspects of the prophecy, and sharing it with their elders in Argonneson. They are also charged with stopping any creature that seeks to use the prophecy for its own end. The responsibility sets them against the Lords of Dust, who must manipulate the prophecy in order to release their fiendish overlords. The Chamber is loosely organized. Each dragon monitors its own small corner of the world and maintains a network of humanoid agents. Although the mission of the Chamber is one of observation, individual dragons have their own agendas. Some seek to manipulate the prophecy personally, directing the future along a particular path. Others conduct experiments on dragon-marked humanoids, trying to understand the connection between these creatures and the prophecy. Still others are obsessed with the Lords of Dust's engagement in century-spanning games of cat and mouse with their fiendish counterparts. In general, the Chamber seeks to maintain the status quo and opposes demons, so agents of the Chambers can often be beautiful allies or patrons. But ultimately, humanoids are just pawns in the dragon's eyes, and they can readily sacrifice any of them to ensure the sanctity of the prophecy and defeat the Lords of Dust. Mage bread. Is it anything like Wonder Bread? At which I would rather just stick with the whole wheat. Thank you very much. The Chamber and the War. The last war's impact on the Chamber was small in the grand scheme of things. Planar observatories were damaged here and there, humanoid servants died in droves, and clashes of armies derailed short-term plans. But even the effects of 100 years of war are minor in the context of plans that span continents and millennia. Mage bread, the bread that slices itself. Or, you could just buy your bread pre-sliced, like a complete pedestrian. The Planar Observatory. Structure at the heart of the Chamber's efforts to divine the meaning of the Draconic prophecy. The observatory consists of great chambers of crystal and metal, lined with huge orreries that track and align with the planes and the Ring of Cerberus. This shows what the planar observatory might look like. Each observatory must be built in a location that is balanced between Cerberus and Kyber. Finding such a site might take years of careful studying and surveying, and these places are typically remote. Several are located in Argonneson. Those in Corvair are usually found in mountain ranges and hidden forest clearings. Many have crystal roofs or domes that open with the aid of great mechanisms to allow an unobstructed view of the night sky. So, this is a planar observatory. There is a cosmic mosaic. These are the orreries. In the center, there's a great dragon shard. And then at the bottom, there is a library. Adventures in the Planar Observatory, a D8 table. On a 1, a disguised dragon requests assistance repairing a damaged orrery within the observatory. On a 2, one of the characters' contacts is secretly the servant of a chamber dragon observer. When the contract goes missing, their notes point towards a hidden library in the mountains. On a 3, the Planar Observatory might offer a way to prevent or at least predict what might seem to be an epidemic of destructive manifest zones. On a 4, an observatory has been taken over by demonic cultists, and the characters must reclaim the facility or destroy it before the cult makes any use of it. On 5, a Dragonmark character has recurring nightmares that lead them to the observatory. On a 6, a thief or an assassin has been using a derelict observatory as a hideout, occasionally selling bits of the observatory's dragon shards on equipment. On a 7, a scholar hires the characters to assist with studying and restoring a rediscovered observatory. And on an 8, several observatories across the region will produce a powerful effect if each is brought into a specific simultaneous alignment. So, in short, you should probably save these observatories if you have an all-mage campaign. Just saying. Chamber NPCs, a D6 table. On a 1, the wizard agent of the chamber seeks to eliminate all of the people they worked on with the past in order to cover their tracks and preserve the chamber's secrecy. On a 2, the prophecy requires the eventual destruction of a humanoid city. A disguised silver dragon, cunning and subtle, works to destabilize the city and bring about its ruin. On a 3, a local librarian is a disguised gold dragon in the service of the chamber, who provides useful leads to send the characters down paths vital to the prophecy. On a 4, a dragon becomes convinced that the dragon-marked houses are corrupting the prophecy. It might specifically target dragon-marked heirs, or start a popular movement that will seek to destroy the houses. On the 5, a royal advisor or a prominent noble, secretly a servant of the chamber, guides the leader in a direction vital to the prophecy, but disastrous to the region. And on a 6, a disguised dragon is convinced that an adventurer has a critical role to play in the prophecy, but an agent of the Lords of Dust is determined to drive them down a different path. Alright, who wants to be subject to an ancient prophecy? Who wants to be part of an ancient foretold faith? Give me your ones in the chat. Or not really, because I know there's only 2 people in the chat in the moment. Alright. So, campaign themes. Throughout the campaign, the goals of the chamber might not be readily apparent. Locations such as the Planar Observatory might not be able to give the adventurers some insight into the substance of the prophecy they have become tangled up in, and seers and sages might be able to offer further insight into the different ways that the demons and dragons could be interpreting those words. Ultimately, the adventurers might be in the position of having to choose between an outcome that is bad for them, but good in the world, or a short-term triumph that carries tremendous risk that would carry tremendous risk for the world in a distant or not too distant future. Okay, missions within the chamber, a D6 table. Gather pristine dragon shards to expand or repair an observatory. Sneeze coming. Achoo! On a 2, seek out a group of people who must be eliminated in order to bring about the fulfillment of a stanza of prophecy. On a 3, discover who killed another minion of the character's dragon patron. On a 4, defend a chamber safe house against a rival draconic attack. On a 5, steal a local sage's research to prevent them from discovering a chamber's activities. And on a 6, recreate an ancient ritual that will bring a new piece of the prophecy to light. Okay. The Dreaming Dark. In the spaces between sleeping and waking, nightmares await with grasping claws. The quarry spirits who ruled Alcor spent 1,000 years seizing control of the continent of Sarlana. Devin says, bless you. Thank you. Now they've turned their many eyes towards Corvair. The ultimate goal of the Dreaming Dark is to control all the nations of the world. The plane of Dalcor goes through circles of light and darkness, and the current age is coming to an end. The nightmare spirits that rule the plane believe that seizing control of mortal civilization and forcing all people of Eberron to dream the dreams they devise can maintain this current age of darkness indefinitely. So the fiends of the Dreaming Dark aren't merely hungry for power, they are fighting for survival. The Dreaming Dark in the war. The chaos that reigned during the last war enabled the agents of the Dreaming Dark to move and act with absolute freedom throughout Corvair. Any direct conflict among Eberron's humanoid populations is a boon to this group, which wants to destabilize all of them. Many of the intense battles near the end of the world war might have been avoided if not for Dreaming Dark agents fanning the flames of fear or hate, often by invading the dreams of soldiers and rulers alike. The role of dreams. If you plan to use the Dreaming Dark as a major villain in your campaign, it can be helpful to establish the role of dreams early on. If dreams feel like a regular part of the story, it'll be less obvious when the Dreaming Dark starts manipulating the character's dreams. For example, you might establish a pattern of picking one adventure and discussing their dreams each time the group takes a long rest. Considering these ideas for a basic seed of a dream, you can revisit recent events. You can involve a current villain. You can foreshadow the future. You can explore the character's past. Or you can reflect the character's anxiety. I always like using the fifth one. Just saying. All dreams occur in the plane of Dalcor. When mortals sleep, their minds touch the plane and shape a shard of it. Normally, a dream is shaped by the memories and emotions of the dreamer, but a dream spell and similar effects can influence the dream from the outside to a specific and often sinister purpose. The Kori are masters of using the dream spell as a weapon to terrorize their foe. It's possible for an entire adventure to take place in a dream. A trick with dream adventure is showing that if it feels meaningful, even consequential, and not just a waste of time, one of 4 basic approaches can help you do that. A real monster inhabits a character's dream and poses a real threat to the character's mind or body. A dreaming character is incapable of waking communication. They might be comatose or possessed. A villain has implanted some kind of psychic lock in a character's mind which prevents them from accessing some knowledge or capability. And the actual objective of the adventure lies in Dalcor. The first goal is to find a way to break out of the mundane dreamscape and enter the wider plane. The second challenge in crafting a dream is to bring the characters in a party together in the same dream, which might or might not belong to one of them. Consider these possibilities. One of the characters is dreaming, and others appear in the dream as memories and impressions in the dreamer's mind. A Kalishtar ritual, or an eldritch machine, allows all of the characters to share a dream or to enter someone's dream. The magic could also allow a character who ordinarily can't dream, such as an elf, a warforged, or a Kalishtar, to enter the dreamscape as well. And in Agents of the Dreaming Dark, use their magic to bring their dreams of the characters together so they can influence or target the entire party at once. Dream Adventures, a D4 table. On a 1, you have to break a psychic lock, preventing a house or any spy from remembering what they learned about a sinister Dreaming Dark plot. On a 2, escape to Dalcor to find an artifact that can be brought back to the material plane when the characters awaken. On a 3, you rescue a character who is suffering from debilitating recurring nightmares by defeating the Kori inhabiting the character's mind. And on a 4, you stop the construction of an eldritch machine in Dalcor that can give the Kori physical access to the material plane again. Dying in dreams. If a character dies while actually dreaming, the character receives no benefit from the rest and also takes 3d6 psychic damage. If you want to establish more severe consequences, you can. And really, that's all there is to that. Dreaming Dark NPCs, a D4 table. A servant in a manor house overhears everything the visiting nobles whisper about in their private rooms. On a 2, the captain of a successful mercenary company suddenly changes the kind of contracts he'll accept. On a 3, a local druid searches out monsters in the wilderness and drives them into murderous rampages. And number 4, a charismatic siren stirs up anger and discontent among the frightened refugees. And see, Dreaming Dark campaign themes, Dreaming Dark Adventurer hooks, a D4 table. The high priest of a temple falls into a deep sleep which nothing can awaken them. On a 2, the characters notice a pattern after defeating several foes. Each enemy exhibited a particular quirk of speech or gesture, and they now recognize that quirk in an ally or a mentor. On a 3, a mad wizard encoded the memory into a destructive spell in their own dreams. The characters must enter the dreamscape and recover the remedy. And on a 4, A war criminal imprisoned during the last war reaches out, claiming to have evidence of their innocence and warning that destructive force is influencing the government. Okay, Drome, the wild frontier. From the Boyce of Breland, Boronel cedes western reaches. In a shocking move, King Boronel has ordered that all Brayless citizens who live west of the Grey Wall Mountains must leave their homes and return to the eastern lands, or else forfeit their claim to the king's protection. In the face of a few withered hags and a ragtag army of filthy ogres and mangy gnomes, King Boronel's legendary courage has apparently faltered. We can only assume he means to yield to Sire next. Once Drome was a wild frontier that marked the edge of civilized Corvair. Today it is home to one of the strangest nations on the continent. In the streets of the Great Crag, ogres and minotaurs rub shoulders with gnolls and goblins, gargoyles and overns circle in the sky while harpies call work crews to the quarries with their songs. Under the rule of the enigmatic daughters of Sorakel, this land grows stronger with each passing year. Drome offers a way to introduce monsters into any adventure, and for characters to encounter these monsters in untraditional ways. Drome demonstrates that even monstrous creatures want the same things that members of other races do, more or less. A visit to Drome gives adventurers a chance to explore a land untethered by the laws of the Treaty Nations, a realm where they are outsiders and the monsters are at home. Adventurers might have to pursue a fugitive or a war criminal into Drome, or go there in search of unusual services or information found only in the land of monsters. The Warlords of Drome. Drome is home to a vast array of creatures. Many of these races maintain isolated enclaves, the Medusa city of Kazakh Dral, the Harpy flights of the Bayeshk Mountains, the scattered Minotaur clans, the mysterious Changeling city, but other creatures have long since commingled. The ogres, orcs, trolls, hills, giants, goblins, and kobolds of Drome have never had distinct cultures. They've always been blended. Although enclaves made up of a single kind of creature do exist, most communities contain a mix of creatures. Within Drome, any creature that commands the loyalty of a band and has successfully claimed and held territory can call itself a warlord, but only a small number of such leaders wield any significant power. A few of the most noble warlords and factions are described below. Cairnorm, a intelligent gargoyle. Cairnorm is the Lord of Grimstone Keep. The Dark Pack, an alliance of lycanthropes, wargs, and other bestial creatures, led by an elf werewolf named Zeril. A Grodin Ashlord, a fire giant exiled from Zendrek, has earned the loyalty of a powerful force of ogres and hill giants. The Harpy flights. The Harpies have long dwelled in the Bayish Mountains. Several flights across the nation, including the Stormslinger, the Last Dirge, and the Rotwing, have pledged themselves to the daughters of Sorakel. Kethelrex the Cunning. The Kobold Lord Kethelrex has laid claim to Sharakol in the south of Drome and leads hosts of kobolds and goblins, creatures that have been traditionally enslaved and oppressed by the larger and more powerful inhabitants of the region. Thresh Torikbar. The Minotaur warlord Resh Torikbar has united the small clans of his people into a deadly force. His fortress is on the eastern edge of Drome, and he often leads raiding parties into Breland in the name of his fiendish patron, the Horned Prince. Sheshka, the Queen of Stone. The Medusas have long held the ancient citadel of Kazakh Dral. Though they are not numerous, their deadly gaze and trained basilisk pets make the Medusas a force to be reckoned with. Medusa priests of the Dark Six are spiritual leaders in many Dromish communities. Queen Sheshka is a skilled warrior and general. She has been loyal to the daughters, but she is devoted to her people and will always do what's best for them. Tiarzin Rak, a cunning Oni with large force of ogres and orcs at his disposal. Tarzan Rak was quick to embrace the arrival of the hags, but also yearns for greater power. The Venom Lords, a group of tieflings called the Venom Lords, leads a community of warlocks, some of whom are also tieflings. Their domain, called the Venomous Immense, is hidden away from the desolate marshes south of Blackwater Lake and shrouded by powerful magic. The Zorchilik, a mind flayer, serves as the governor of Greywall. It is said that the daughters found Zorchilik in Khyber and received his loyalty in exchange for a pledge that the Hags would give him an opportunity for vengeance against one of the Delkir. And the Znir Pact, the Gnolls of Drom, once servants of Rak Tulkesh, broke ties with their demons long ago and swore an oath of loyalty to the pack above all else. Since standing together and being bound by this Znir Pact, the Gnolls have never been subjected by any other force and have never sought to conquer. Instead, they sell their services as hunters and soldiers serving all warlords. Okay. The ruined Danaki fort. This shows an example of a Danaki fort built into a cliff face. And so basically what they're suggesting is that, this is potentially a dungeon. It used to be a fort that belonged to the Danaki kingdom, and now it's a fortress. Okay. The Ruined Fort Adventures, a D6 table. Gnolls lairing in the fort have been attacking caravans and travelers near the Dargoon Boulder, but the Gnolls are mercenaries. Who are they working for? On a 2, the ruins are said to hold a powerful magic item that was used by the ancient Dakani goblins against the Delkir. 3, the party is hired to recruit several hill giants for building a project in western Brayland. Step 1 is making sure that the giants lairing in the fort don't kill the party. Step 2 is persuading them to work for humans. 4, the characters must rescue prisoners held by monsters in the ruins. 5, a group of Brayllish humans determined to take Brayllish lands back from the monsters have settled and suddenly started to rebuild the ruined fort. The party is asked to help them defend the fort or to protect them as they flee back to Brayland. And 6, a Brayllish noble hires a party to retrieve a family heirloom that is lost in the fort's ruins. And so, excuse me. So, that is effectively saying that, these forts are effectively the same as dungeons, and the kind of scenarios that you would use in order to run a dungeon could definitely apply here. Okay, descriptions of the Daughters of Sorakel. The Daughters and the War. Drom emerged as a nation in the final decade of the last war. King Buranel of Brayland brokered an uneasy truce with Drom, but the other nations of Corvair have refused to recognize the Daughters' sovereignty. Eberron just keeps the bangers coming, that's right. Most leaders believe that Drom will soon collapse into chaos or that Brayland will gather its strength and crush the Daughters. Others that think that either of those assumptions gravely underestimates the abilities of the Daughters and their subjects. Campaign themes with the Daughters. Well, we'll go down to adventure hooks because we did that with every other group. On a 1, a Medusa sends authorities a broken stone finger bearing a distinctive signet ring and invites emissaries to bring gold, a magic item, or some other ransom for the petrified individual's release. 2, a House Lorender airship has gone down beyond the Greywall Mountains. The characters must move immediately to rescue any survivors and secure a secret message that the ship is carrying. On 3, Sora Terraza appears in a character's dreams every few nights, urging the character to explore a particular ruin. On a 4, the characters must entreat the Daughters of Sorakel for knowledge of how to remove a seemingly unbreakable curse. 5, the characters must purchase or steal a Delkir tome or artifact from the Tower of Mordain Fleshweaver, a powerful wizard banished from the 12 who now makes his home in Western Drome. And 6, an ogre warlord is accused of destroying a village just outside the borders of Drome. The characters must bring the warlord to justice or work with the ogre to find the true culprit. Okay. So now, this is the next to last section. I'm going to read the last 2 in these chapters just out of interest of closing off Eberron. If you have to go somewhere else, don't worry about it. Notify the affiliates we're going into overtime, etc., etc. But I am definitely going to close out this book tonight. The Gatekeepers are a druidic set dedicated to protecting the natural world from unnatural forces. They battle aberrations and guard against extraplanar invasions and the release of ancient evils. The Gatekeepers maintain the oldest druidic tradition of Corvair. Over 15,000 years ago, the Green Dragon Varak came to the Shadow Marches and gathered a following from among the orcs of the region. In her studies of the prophecy, Varak had foreseen a great threat that could be stopped only by the younger races. So she taught the orcs the secret language of the natural world and showed them how to work with stone and soil and how to read the future in the movement of the Ring of Cerberus. She charged her students to remain ever vigilant against the threat that was to come and to protect the nature from those who were corrupted. Gatekeepers in the war. The last war only had minimal impact on the Gatekeepers and vice versa. The Druids' primary concern was to prevent military activity from disrupting the seals that they guarded. Occasionally, the Gatekeepers attacked groups of scouts or military patrols, driving them away to ensure battles didn't erupt in their vicinity. Sometimes the Gatekeepers failed in those efforts, and Zoriat's corruption spread over some remote regions while the war raged around him. Okay, a Gatekeeper seal. A seal is a protected site, usually attended at all times by Gatekeepers who live at or near the seal. The one depicted at the map lies on the edge of a swamp, but it could be located on any terrain. A circle of standing stones seems to focus the magic of the area towards the seal itself, and the stones also serve as a place of worship for the Druids' devotions and ceremonies. So, this is the area of the seal that just has several stones surrounding the stone seal that's in the center. And this is the home of all the devoted in the upper area. It says, whatever you do, don't wander in here, break that seal, and unleash some kind of eldritch abomination into the world. Say, Gatekeeper Seal Adventures, a D4 table. 1. Deliver a specially treated hybrid dragon shard to the Gatekeepers to repair a widening crack in the seal. 2. Petition the keepers of the seal for information on an aberration that has been terrorizing the countryside. 3. Assist the Gatekeepers in an annual ritual that will re-energize the seal and keep it shut for another year. Or 4. Escort a new Gatekeeper Guardian safely to the seal after its previous guardians were corrupted. Gatekeeper NPC is also a D4 table. 1. The spirit of a long-dead Gatekeeper that lives on the body of an ancient toad. It speaks in a deep croaking voice. 2. A half-orc Gatekeeper that works in House Thrash as an investigator, searching for signs of planar disturbances. 3. A human Gatekeeper is on a pilgrimage carrying an amulet that serves as a seal on a journey to a number of sacred sites that will restore its power. And 4. An old orc ranger is murdering people in Sharn, claiming that they have been corrupted by the Delkier. Gatekeeper Adventure Hooks, a D8 table. 1. While pursuing rumors of lycanthrope activity, the characters discover a good-aligned werebear that is working with the Gatekeepers to stop an incursion from Kyber. 2. A Gatekeeper seal in the form of a stone tablet falls into the characters' hands. They must return the seal to the Gatekeepers before the magic fades. 3. A logging operation is moving close to an area protected by a seal, and the party must convince the loggers to relocate before their work touches off a conflict with the Gatekeepers. 4. Working with an agent of the chamber, the Gatekeepers are convinced the actions of the characters will bring a Delkier one step closer to freedom. 5. The characters discover evidence suggesting that the rituals performed by the local Gatekeepers are weakening the seal and not empowering it. 6. Pilgrims traveling through a forest draw the attention of the Gatekeeper, who think there are spies sent to sabotage the nearby seal. 7. One of the kidnapped victims who was rescued from a marauding band of aberrations turns out to be an initiate of the Gatekeepers. Or 8. The adventurers are sent to the moorholes to investigate the activity of Dern the Corruptor and to cover a Delkier cult among the dwarves. Okay, and so this is the final. This is the final adventure entry, and it is for the goblinoids, the heirs of the Khan. War drums are sounding in the depths beneath Dargoon. Bugbear champions hone their adamantine greatswords, and hobgoblin dirt singers call allegiance to battle. The warriors of the Khan are planning to reclaim their stolen lands, and the nations of Corvair have no idea what's coming. During the struggle with the Delkier, some Decani leaders saw the madness spreading among their people and knew it would destroy their civilization. They led their forces into deep subterranean chambers and severed all contact with the outside world. In recent years, these ancient clans, who call themselves the Kek the Khan, bearers of the traditions of Catan, have finally begun to return to the surface. The Decani are utterly devoted to war, matched only by the Valinor elves in their devotion to the martial arts. They are weaponsmiths and armorers, know techniques that even the artificers of House Cannith cannot duplicate. Throughout the last war, no nation faced any other force that had the skill and the resources of the resurgent Decani. The heirs in the war. The last war caused the heirs to finally stir and emerge from their deep vaults. They recognize that humanity has been weakened by its self-inflicted wounds. The wives of Dagon and the proliferation of that nation's Galdar mercenaries enables the Decani to move around Corvair without drawing undue attention. And the mourning ultimately demonstrated that the races of the five nations could not be trusted with ruling Corvair. It was time for the Decani to return and subjugate the other races to their firm hand once again. So, the Decani fort. All across Dargoon, the heirs of Deccan are reclaiming surviving remnants of their fallen empire, and they even cautiously range out into surrounding nations. You can use map 4.3, ruined Decani fort. Yeah, so that's a little bit lower. As an example, that's what they usually say. As a basis for a fort that has been reclaimed by the heirs. Adventures in the Decani fort, a D10 table. 1. Steal an ancient magic weapon from the fort's commander. 2. Bring a treaty proposal to the fort in hopes of having it conveyed to the leader of the occupying Ketch. 3. Gather intelligence about the force occupying the fort in preparation for a raid. 4. Rescue prospectors who were taken prisoner and held in the fort's dungeons. 5. Steal the fort commander's notes on top of troop movements in the surrounding areas. 6. Lead a strike against the fort to drive out the occupying Decani. 7. Rush to support a small squad besieging the fort before Decani reinforcements arrive and break the siege. 8. Assassinate or kidnap the advisor to the fort's commander. 9. Work with the occupying commander to discover the spy from another Kek in their ranks. Or 10. Break a siege by Dargoon goblinoids that has trapped the Chambers Decani fleets within the fort. Goblinoid NPCs, a D8 table. A hobgoblin bard of the Kek Valar leads an elite team of dungeon delvers to recover Decani artifacts from ancient ruins. 2. A remarkably intelligent goblin studying at Arcanix or Margrave is actually a Keldish Star spy identifying tomes of arcane knowledge that are worth stealing. 3. A Decani strike force assaults a museum or a noble's private holdings, reclaiming goblin artifacts pillaged from ruins. These relics could be part of an eldritch machine or could simply have important ceremonial value. 4. A goblin spy stirs up trouble among the city goblins in a major city, using tales of their former glory to incite them to violence. 5. A string of mysterious bombings are actually the work of the Decani sappers testing the strength of their modern fortifications. Number 6. A Decani strike force attacks a Deneth outforce built atop a goblin ruin. Are the goblins just angry about the desecration, or is there something hidden beneath the outpost? 7. A bugbear of the Kek Surat to test the mettle of the adventurers engages them all in a series of guerrilla attacks as they are traveling through the wilderness. And 8. A hobgoblin warlock seeks to harness the power of the Delkier or the fiendish overlords to win the imperishable crown for the Kek. Bugbears are freaking scary. Well, not all bugbears. Barry the Bugbear isn't freaking scary. I watch his show all the time. Okay. So this is going to be the end of it. This is the Heirs of the Can Adventurer Hooks, a D12 table. Devin says, yeah, he's very nice. Yes, he is indeed very nice. This, conveniently, I could give him a shout out just before I read this final entry, just so that I can rest my voice enough in order to get all the way through it. Here's Barry the Bugbear. Heirs of the Khan Adventure Hooks. 1. A scout patrol has gone missing near the border of Dargoon. 2. A mining tunnel has collapsed, revealing a network of caverns leading to Kuiper. The heirs of the Khan are waiting in the darkness and decide to strike first. 3. A squad of goblins attempts to steal back spoils of a recent adventure, cursing the characters for being grave robbers. 4. A lone hobgoblin warrior stands at the gates of a town, intent on dueling the mercenary captain who slew their brother. The warrior has already killed 10 soldiers that tried to remove them. 5. Race against the Dakani force to recover an ancient artifact from a ruin. 6. Defend a series of temples against the Dakani raiders targeting those houses of false gods. 7. Explorers discover a fragment of an ancient Dakani song that seems to tell of the true heir of Dakan. The complete lyrics might settle the question of succession. 8. The Dakani begin kidnapping warforged so that their artificers can learn how to make their own construct soldiers. 9. In a sacked human settlement, a battle between two opposing forces of goblinoids breaks out. Which side was the cause of the destruction? 10. The Keksarat send emissaries to a nearby city with a simple message. Abandon the town within 1 week or die. 11. Goblin scouts have been spotted far from Dargoon, moving with uncharacteristic coordination and precision. And 12. A representative of the Kekvalar approaches the characters to request their help in confronting their rivals to maintain the balance of power among the Dakani. So, let me just skip ahead really quickly because I am pretty sure. Let me see. Building Eberron Adventures in Sharn. Most war, personal impact. Okay. Chapter 3 describes the city of Sharn. Okay, Forgotten Relics. Okay. Well, I made a valiant effort, but I do think there are still a couple of readables in this, and I think it is, yeah. A series of possible adventure scenarios that take place inside of the last war, and potential adventures in Sharn, with the specific adventure being this one called Forgotten Relics. So, unfortunately, this isn't going to be the last read-through. I'm going to be doing one more, and so we're going to close this off with Eberron Rising from the Last War, Part 7, next week, and the next installment of Tabletop Lore. But anyway, thank you everybody once again for tuning in to Bringing the RPG Cat. Once again, I do want to mention that I am currently casting actual play cast members. You have to be over 18 and experienced with D&D 5th edition. It would be a plus if you are an English VTuber, if you have experience with streaming platforms, if you have a streaming if you have a streaming channel on Twitch or YouTube to promote. If you want to write in applications, first send me an email at brainytherpgcat@gmail.com. Also, I'm looking for English VTuber guest stars. Once again, you have to be over 18 and experienced with D&D 5th edition. It would be a plus if your character is a fantasy species and you have experience with web streaming platforms, or if you have a streaming channel on a Twitch or YouTube to promote. For applications, please email me at brainytherpgcat@gmail.com. And as usual, these streams are brought to you by greatmedia.games. For low prices on TCG single cards, visit greatmedia.games and use the code 10finity at checkout for 10% off of your online purchase. Devin says, cheers, Brainy. Thanks for another great one. Well, thank you very much for tuning in. And thank you everybody else who tuned in tonight. Thank you to Red the Rabbit. Thank you to Queen Vampiress. Thank you to Jester LC2. I see you. Thank you everybody for tuning in. And of course, be sure to mind our holiday donation campaign supporting Children's Hospital Colorado through Extra Life from now until December 31st. So, thank you everybody for tuning in. It has been a long and significant evening. I think I'm going to pick out somebody to raid now. Let's see. I think that I would like to pay a visit to... let's see, who might be on right now. I think I would like to go over to... Let's go over to Grandpa VT. Right now, they're in the middle of doing an art stream. They were doing an art stream earlier this morning, but I think they also made a recent Twitter post that said that they wanted to come on a second time and draw something else. So it would be nice to tune into her campaign, to their campaign. Grandpa VT, for who's doing an art stream. Let's start with a shout out. It's always a party over there. Alrighty then. Thank you everybody for tuning in. I will be back tomorrow, and I am going to be playing part 2 of my playthrough of Total War Warhammer Part 3. So thank you everybody for tuning in. I will see you guys tomorrow. Until then, thank you very much for watching, and have a good night, everybody.